So, when you think about great comic book rivalries, you usually think about, the typical Batman and Joker, or Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, or Superman and Lex Luthor. But I would like to stand for an argument for another lesser-known comic book rivalry, which I consider to be one of the greatest and underrated rivalries in comic books ever. And that rivalry is between Hank Pym and his creation Ultron. Now, the reason why I've always kind of thought that the rivalry between Hank Pym and Ultron is because it's very much like a Frankenstein. It's a very Frankenstein monster and his creator kind of vibe to it. It's always been like that, where Hank Pym wanted to prove that he was a great scientist and wanted to build a machine to help people, and it turned out to be Marvel's Skynet at first. And it's gone on to become not only one of the Avengers, if not the Avengers' greatest enemy, but also the one of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe. Ultron and Hank Pym have been at each other's throats, and I feel like, as much as I love the Age of Ultron film, I've always kind of felt like, you could have done all this and have Hank Pym in the film and have him build it. I've always kind of felt that was a weird choice to have Tony be the one to build Ultron, and that kind of, I feel like that rivalry has been taken away from films. Because, like I said, it's Ultron and Hank's rivalry is very much, like, you could look at it like Frankenstein's monster and Victor Frankenstein going at each other. Now, the big thing is that you could argue, with Batman and Joker, is that Batman created the Joker. The thing is that Batman inadvertently, in a way, created the Joker, and, with Rebirth, it's always been, and, with Snyder stuff, you could say that the Joker's always been like that. And, yeah, but on other case, you could make the argument that Batman created Joker, or Joker's always been this way, and Batman was just there to be the indomitable force he wanted. But with Ultron and Hank, with Hank and Ultron, it's much different. Because, yeah, Hank actually did create the thing that literally has killed, in one timeline or another, the Marvel Universe. Ultron has literally been one of the greatest enemies of the Marvel Universe, and he won't stop until he kills every literal fucking thing that is organic. And, yeah, throughout the ages, it's always been, Hank Pym's had his conscience. Whenever Ultron kills someone, or he kills someone, and yeah, Joker, Lex Luthor, and Green Goblin have killed hundreds of people. They've killed hundreds. But they don't compare to the amount of people Ultron has killed. He committed mass genocide. He wiped out a whole European continent in Ultron Unlimited. For those who have never read Ultron Unlimited is a story where Ultron single-handedly invaded a country called Salonia and slaughtered every man, woman, and child in this small European nation. And it led not only the Avengers facing off with him, but also the entire world nations. I'm talking Italy, Russia, Afghanistan, the U.S., South America, Canada. Every giant nation in the world united. And keep in mind, this was the the mid-90s, when, everyone was kind of at each other's throats, and we still are, but, but yeah, we all united, got behind the Avengers, and fought against Ultron. But you'd have to think, and even Hank himself, he couldn't get over the fact that Ultron's blood is on his hands, and the just mass graves that Ultron has left in his wake have all laid heavily on Hank Pym's consciousness. Yeah, you'd have, with Batman, yeah. With Joker, he's killed hundreds, if not thousands of people, but that's nothing compared to the millions, if not billions, people Ultron has killed. And every one of them go back, it all goes back to Hank Pym. With that, with that kind of animosity, and yeah, it doesn't help that Ultron, in a weird, sick way, considers Hank his father. And, if you want to talk about weird families, look no further than the Pym dynasty, as I like to call it. The Pym dynasty is literally... sorry for the background noise. Sorry for the background noise. I don't know if the mic's going to pick that up. But yeah, the Pym dynasty is literally Ant-Man, Wasp, Ultron, Vision, it's a giant web of a family tree, and it's so odd. It's so oddball out of it. But yeah, and that's the big thing, is that the other major aspect is that Hank Pym himself is not perfect, because do I really need to say why? Wife beater? Anyone? Yeah. And also, he's kind of an arrogant prick sometimes. But still, that's what I think. What really makes that rivalry between Hank Pym and Ultron really great is because it really just solidifies that Hank Pym is not a perfect human. Where you could say, with Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man, all of their rivalries, it's like, yeah, it's black and white. It's good guy, bad guy. It's Superman's right, Lex Luthor is wrong. But with Ultron and Hank, it's a lot different because there's a big gray area, because Hank's done some really dirty shit in the past too. So there's this huge blotch of gray between Hank Pym and his creation in this, in this void, really. And it doesn't help if you've read if you know Rage of Ultron, then you know that Hank has literally become the thing the thing he hates. He's literally become Ultron. In that story, and also recently in the Avenger, I think it was just the Avengers title with Captain America's Unity Squad. In that story, we've discovered that Hank and Ultron have become one, and it's really hard to tell where does one begin and where does Ultron begin and Hank Pym end. That's really the big thing here. And it also doesn't help that I feel bad for Hank. I really do, because this is a guy who is proclaimed by the god of the living spirit of the universe to be Earth's greatest scientist. He's the smartest human being in the universe. On Earth. And yet he's this very immoral and very imperfect person. Whenever he takes one step forward, it's two, 5, 10 steps back every single time. It comes back to haunt him, and Ultron is that ultimate nightmare that has always hung over him. No matter what he does, no matter what good he can do, or no matter how many costumes he goes through, Ultron is always going to be that ultimate sin. That no matter how many times they say, "Yeah, we got Ultron this time," it's like he'll be back. He'll be back. That's the problem. He'll always be back. And like I said, Ultron is now, Ultron and Hank Pym have become one, and I feel bad for Hank, because, yeah, they just kind of assumed when Hank Pym and Ultron flew out into space, Hank died. And it's still kind of left in the air if Hank's alive at all now that he's merged with Ultron. And, yeah, again, it goes back to the whole become the thing you've become the monster you tried to destroy. So, yeah. I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to say the rivalries between Spider-Man and Green Goblin, or Batman and Joker, or Superman and Lex Luthor, or other rivalries in the Marvel and DC universes respectively are bad. I'm not trying to say that at all. They're all really good, and they all have a lot of merit to them, but I feel like Hank Pym and Ultron's rivalry is probably one of the greatest, but sadly probably the most underrated in comic books. I feel like that one's always kind of underplayed, in my opinion. I feel like it's sadly, forgotten under all these other great comic book stories, but I feel like this one is probably one of the greatest, but it's sadly one of the most underrated. So I would stand to reason that, for me personally, this is just my personal opinion, that Hank Pym and Ultron's rivalry in comic books is probably one of the best. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's probably one of the best in comic books in general. So, yeah, I just wanted to put this video on here. I just wanted to do a vid talking about this, because I feel like this is never really talked about. It's never really brought up, because when you think Ultron, you usually just think, oh yeah, Avengers, he's usually just the Avengers villain. But you have to understand, who created Ultron? One of the founding members of the Avengers, and probably one of the most not exactly stable. Yeah, and I really do like that. I even like how Hank Pym and Ultron have become one, more or less. So it's a very interesting concept that we're now playing with. So yeah, you guys tell me, what do you guys think of the rivalry between Hank Pym and Ultron? Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Do you guys think it might be one of the, it's an underrated rivalry? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.